Absolutely. You mentioned keeping Krishna in the center, which is something that we all talk about. I would like to go to Partha Prabhu right now and ask you about that, Prabhu, a little bit. There's connecting, uh, yeah, there's connecting with Krishna, and there's my marriage, right? What exactly does my marriage have to do with connecting to Krishna?
It's very important because your behavior is the manifestation of your Krishna consciousness. And your behavior with other people is a very direct manifestation of Krishna consciousness. If I'm praying to my deities in my house, my dear Lord, I want to develop pure love for you, but I hate my wife, is Krishna going to be pleased with that? Probably not. Probably not. And Prabhupada gave this nice explanation once of love. He was saying, why does everyone care for their body? He said, no one cares for a dead body, but we all take care of our body, our health, we eat properly, exercise. And Prabhupada said, that's because of the presence of the soul. And then he said, why do we care for the soul? He said, we care for the soul because the soul is connected with Krishna. And then he said, in the same way, why do we care for others, our spouses, our family members, our community members, the greater world? Why do we care for these people? And again, Srila Prabhupada said, because of the presence of the soul. And then he said, in this way, that love goes to Krishna. So we understand that Krishna says, one who says he's my devotee, he's not really my devotee, but one who's a devotee of my devotee, of my devotee, of my devotee, he's actually my devotee. So our love for Krishna is manifest in how we respect, treat, and have compassion for those around us. That's extremely important. And it was interesting in that conversation, Srila Prabhupada, he said, but the disconnect, he said the interruption in that connection is illusion. So Prabhupada's acknowledging sometimes in these personal relationships, we're trying to have this state of harmony, but there are these disconnects. Just like Ekavira and Rajalila were talking about how they defined it as spiritual technology can be used to help maintain that state of connection. And Jagannath Pandit and Chintamani are describing these repair attempts. And those repair attempts and that technology helps us to eradicate those illusions that actually separate us from each other and prevent that flow of affection to go to Krishna. So that's extremely important for us to see that our ashrams and our relationships with our family is a very important part of our Krishna consciousness. And it's something we can't separate. And so it's we can never drive home that point enough. Sometimes there's, I think we discussed this in a previous session, how there's these negative attitudes or paradigms that, well, family life is just a deep, dark well. It's nothing to do with Krishna consciousness, but that is very incorrect understanding of Vaishnava Siddhanta. So we really want to impress this point that your relationships are extremely important to your Krishna consciousness, that you develop these spiritual qualities by making these repair attempts. And there's one psychologist, he describes very nicely how in a relationship of marriage, there's different forces. There's a force of attraction that draws you together, that feeling of connection. And there's also a feeling of this disconnect. So those are two opposing forces. And he said there's a third force, and that third force is what the previous presenters have been talking about, and that's the force exerted to bring the disconnect back into connection. And this psychologist, he describes that third force, that repair attempt, that energy you put to reconnect, he says that's the force that drives love, that you're always looking to reconnect. And ultimately, in the highest platform, if we're always maintaining that connection, then even the seeming disconnects are almost inconsequential. Like Prabhupada described once how in a healthy marriage, he said, might be a little tiff between husband and wife, but it's like in India sometimes there's a huge boom of thunder and there's no rain. So there might be some little tiff and it's gone the next second. But on the material platform, it becomes like World War III because the disconnect is so great. So it's extremely important for couples to see that your marriage is a great responsibility, and there are tools and ways in which you can keep that relationship healthy.
Prabhu, even when there's a loud crack of thunder and no rain, that crack of thunder is still pretty scary. Yes, you admit? Thank you very much.